While measuring your self-worth, don't use someone else's scale, nor give the calculator to others. Know your worth, hold your power, be you. Because it all starts with understanding yourself as a person. And you know why? Because you are worth it. Hello, viewers. I am Shammi Proothi, Wellness Education Specialist at ANON Global Foundation. And today we are here again with yet another very interesting and enriching conversation at ANONTalks. Because you are worth it. And today we are joined by none other than Miss Judy Shaffer, who is a life coach and retail sales manager and a mindfulness coach. Judy has also been a volunteer for the Shelter for the Homeless. She also developed and led the project Women of Worth for 20 years. Now, Judy is working on the project Awakening Our Worth. Welcome to Anon Talks, Judy.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to be here today.
And so are we. So delighted to have you with us today. Awakening our worth. What a beautiful thing to do. So, Judy, most of us, men, women, children, youth, old, all of us struggle with feelings of unworthiness, sometimes or the other. You, for more than 2 decades, have been working on various projects to get past these limiting beliefs and enhance our self worth. What do you think are the common denominators to awakening our self worth, reclaiming our power?
Well, I believe that it starts in childhood. We start to go to school. We realize that there's other people in our world, not just us. And all of a sudden we hear those opinions. So we have these bursts of, well, maybe I'm not so good after all. And if we don't have the support at home, that is so easy to carry on into teenhood. And then it just exaggerates itself then. We have to be part of the group, part of the clique. We want to look and act. And that just carries on further into dating and marriage. And we get married and we want to be the perfect little wife to do everything our husbands want us to do. And in that process, we forget about who we are inside. That little girl that loved to run and play or make music or color or dream or just whatever has gone somewhere. Then the children start to arrive, and now we want to be the perfect, once again, mother. And we get lost in that. And we might have parents that are maybe a bit demanding, so we have to be the perfect daughter. So here are all these roles of perfection that everybody else is telling us. And we forget that we are perfect just the way we are without the roles. And in my Women of Worth program, that's the whole purpose of the retreats, is to help women not to become these powerfully, stepping out into the world women, because you have families, you are mothers, you are daughters, you are aunts, but how to navigate that while be reclaiming and looking after ourselves and truly internalizing who we really are. So the retreats, we just teach ways of doing this that's not going to disrupt your family. And I always say when the retreats start, I don't expect you to go home on Sunday and sell your kids and divorce your husband. This is not the purpose. This is to help you navigate this part of your life where you are feeling better about yourself.
So true. We keep internalizing the opinions of others and we seek perfection all the times. And that is, why? Because the competitive world that we live in, that tells us that we need to be extraordinary. We need to be special and feel good about ourselves. That is where our self-worth lies. So
And
when we,
sorry, the sad part of that, we are perfect already. We
absolutely
don't have to be anything else than what we are.
so true. And we are always in quest and searching for self-worth. And we are constantly trying to perfect ourselves, as you just say, be the perfect mother, be the perfect wife, be the perfect, partner. Everything has to be perfect. And in the process, we compare ourselves with others. So at that time, it can be very disappointing. It can be very exhausting to do that, because there is always someone better than us, someone richer, someone more attractive, even more successful than we are. So, but sometimes we do manage to feel that self-worth momentarily, but it's just, keeps, bounces around like a ping pong ball, rising and falling with our latest success and failure. So when we talk about this, lacking self-worth is like tree without roots. So how do we get over this never-ending feeling of, good enough, this insecurity, this instability?
Well, what we teach in the Women of Worth classes, I start with gratitude. That is number one on the list. When we express gratitude for what we have, that changes our brain chemistry. It changes how we think. And it gives us that, oh, yeah, things are okay. I have these 3 things that I'm grateful for today, or these 5 things that I'm grateful for today. And that really, not just figuratively, but changes how our brain starts to get wired. It changes the release of the feel good chemicals in our brain, because we are starting to feel good. And when we start to feel good about these things and are grateful, we then attract more of the good things in our life. Our attitude becomes more positive. We attract the tribe in our life that kind of thinks like we do, the positive, uplifting people that build you up and are proud of your accomplishments. And the next thing that we start with is journaling. I believe that journaling is a very important part of our processes, because we have these things. And if we don't have a way to get them out, because sometimes we have, we can't talk to people about some of the things, but just the fact that we sit down, and I like to say with a pen and paper, but using a computer is fine. And just writing, even if it's a couple dozen sentences a day, or maybe no sentences a day, but just having that outlook, those to me are the first 2 points of regaining your self-worth again. And you start to really, wow, I guess maybe there is some good things about me, because you start to think, when you're writing with pen on paper, you just let the stuff flow. And then you go back and you think, wow, well, this wasn't such a bad day after all. Maybe I didn't get this done, but look what else I got done.
Mm.
And I didn't let somebody get in my head today. And that's it, today was a good day because of that. And we didn't get to this point in one big leap. We got it step by step by step. And we're not going to get out of it in one big leap. It's going to take doing these little things consistently every day, or as best as you can every day. You're building new habits and new rituals in your life that are building you up. And you're starting to not look at the outside rituals that are going to tear you down.
So true. So you suggest like gratitude and journaling as the most important points. So, like you must have met a lot of people during this journey in both the projects that you have been doing. So any other specific thing that you suggest to your people who are really down with their self-worth?
Because I have a belief in God.
Mhm.
But, and I always tell my classes, I'm going to use the word God because I believe in God. But you can use whatever, spiritual name you want to put on this deity, whether it's the universe, whether, whatever. But finding a closer relationship
Mhm.
to that side of you
Mhm.
is really important, and go on that journey and don't be afraid. Look at meditation, look at, just there's so many different areas out there. Don't be afraid to explore, and don't be afraid to feel, because it's not going to be an easy journey. You're going to hurt. You're going to cry. You're going to be in despair. That's just part of the journey. But when you pull these parts out of you that have remained buried and unhealed for so long, it's going to hurt. That's just plain, it's going to hurt. But having the resources out there, whatever your journey, whatever path you choose to take, will help you heal. And once you heal, you can progress forward. But the healing has to start to take place. And the other big thing is, as adults, as wives, as mothers, as children, or as adults, we've forgotten how to play. We don't play as women anymore. Whether I'm when we do our retreat the last day, we spend 2 hours with a box called a play box, and it has crayons and coloring books and crepe paper and old magazines, and we just color and we cut out and we share pictures. We're just like this group of kids sitting on a four-plane. Now, that might not be your cup of tea, but it's not whether you like to color or not. It's to help you to remember that you have to take some time to play. And Juliana Cameron, who does The Artist Way, she has a really great selection suggested in one of her books. It's called You Take Yourself Out on a Play Date once a week. Whether you like to go have ice cream, whatever go to the movies, go for dinner. And I just think that it's just a wonderful idea. Just learn or remember what you like to do. We are all born as children and little girls with a passion in our heart, something that sets our soul on fire, no matter what that is, whether it's crocheting, whether it's playing the piano. There's no big passion or no little passion. We all have it, but that gets buried deeper and deeper, and we become sadder and sadder. We don't know what's going on, what's happened to our spark. I wanted to be a mother. Now I have 3 children, and half the time I want to sell my 3 children. We don't realize it's that passion that's been distinguished. It's been put out. That's what it's all about, is finding that passion. And maybe you can't fulfill that passion right then at that moment, but that doesn't mean you can't work on it. It doesn't mean you can't plan on it. It doesn't mean you can't prepare for it. Once you have looked deep and saw, yes, this is what used to set my heart on fire, and I'm going to start in some way or some form to make this passion come to life again. That's the bottom, the underlying thing that gets lost as we grow up. Grow up, be responsible. Well, yes, you got it to get by in the world, but that doesn't mean you extinguish this fire at all.
I mean, such a beautiful thought. And I think it's very relevant. We keep hearing about it time and again. But when it comes to exercising it in our daily lives, we tend to overlook the importance of this pursuing our passion.
And I think too, we forget, it's so human nature. We get caught up in what happened way back here. We think about what's going to happen way out here, that we forget we're living right here, right now. And to live in the moment is where the joy is, because the past is done. You can't change it. It's over with. Why should I dwell on it? I haven't got a clue what tomorrow's going to bring, so there's no point worried about it either. So as we learn to become mindful of where we are and develop an open mind thought process of accepting and enjoying and letting go of these closed mind ideas and thoughts that keep us stuck, we soon begin to enjoy life. We take each moment. And that is so important too when we're raising children, because children live right this very minute. They forgot what they got in trouble last week for. They haven't got a clue of what next week even means. They are here right now and enjoying what's right in front of them right now. And if we can put ourselves to that level and enjoy that, if we have children that are that age, and learn from that, because that is truly what keeps us from being stuck in the negative. Is if I just had $100 more in the bank, I'd be happy. If I just had an obedient teenager, I'd be really, really happy. If I just had a spouse or a partner who understood me, I'd be really happy. So you don't have them. What does that mean? What are you going to do about it? We have such a tendency to transfer what we don't want to do ourselves to somebody else. It's easy to place the blame over here than it is to look at what's inside here. And when we can escape that, well, I am responsible for me. If you don't pay my rent, get out of my head. Don't tell me what I need to do, what I don't need to do. You know, if you're not willing to be part of this, then, you know, and that doesn't mean you're selfish. And I know sometimes people go, well, that sounds really selfish. It's got nothing to do with being selfish. It's actually the opposite of being selfish. When you are looking after yourself, it's so much easier to look after who needs to be looked after. Because number one, you're not carrying resentment around because I have this obligation. You're not carrying that negative. It's like you're doing what you have to do, but it's so begrudgingly. And the people that you're doing that for can feel them. So you're serving with a much happier, cheerful, loving place, because you have brought that power from inside yourself.
Right. So true. So keeping the child alive in us, that's the key.
Yeah, it is the key.
So the
That
playful,
awe, that wonderment of life.
yes,
Because life is, there's horrible things going on in the world, but life still is magnificent. And everybody has the opportunity to have truly magnificent moments in their life. And that's so important to remember and to understand and to be grateful for.
So true. That reminds me of the quote that you don't stop playing because you grow old. You grow old because you have stopped playing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I children also laugh without any reason, and that's again one thing that we need to imbibe. So this brings me, I read a book, something called Anatomy of Illness. So this is the real story of this person who has, who treated his psychosomatic disease, physical movement, where he was like given more than 36 injections or medicines a day just to stop his pain. And he realized it's all related to stress and the limiting beliefs, the self-critical thoughts. And he started just laughing out loud, and he treated himself completely.
I believe that. I truly believe that because, like you say, laughter, children just laugh and giggle and play. And how long has it been since you laughed from the belly about nothing, just something silly?
Mm.
My daughter and I would just be off on some little doing, and something would happen, and we'd laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's just such a natural, wonderful healer.
Mm. But when we grow older, we start becoming, critical of ourselves. We forget that self-love, self-compassion.
Exactly. And I don't think we forget, we just lose it because some of us have spent so many years without it.
Mm.
We just, it's just, they don't even, they don't even realize that it's missing. They truly, there's people that don't even realize this is missing from their lives.
Mm. Yes, that becomes a part of our growing up, and it becomes our second nature, being critical of.
Exactly.
And, we keep talking to ourselves the most negative way possible. I mean, we don't remember that it's not the other's opinion, but it's our own opinion of ourselves that's limiting us.
Our self-talk is horrible sometimes. We would never think to speak to somebody else the way we speak to ourselves in our brain.
Mm.
And you are so right. It's so important to be aware of our self-talk. The brain doesn't know whether it's right or wrong. It just acts on it. And so, and there's so much, there's a lot of this stuff that's such a physiological part of us as well. It's not just our emotions, it's how our brain works, how our brain is wired.
Mm.
um and if you tell the brain, oh well, it's just going to be a really horrible day today, nothing's going to go right, the brain goes, oh well, I guess that's how it's going to be, so now I'll just make sure that that happens for you. you know we just talk to each other so horribly, and instead of saying, you are really beautiful today, you are just going to have a great day, I'm going to set my intentions to have a marvelous day. Well, you set yourself up for that. Guess what? That's going to happen today. And people don't realize how simple it is. It really isn't a huge, complicated thing. It really isn't. But people make it
Mm.
so complicated.
Absolutely. Our minds are hardwired towards the negative biases, and we find it hard to move, to see a ray of hope, to see positive things happening. Our mind always moves towards what's wrong in my life, what is missing in my life. What we have is just like, nothing at all. It's taken for granted. But what I don't have is all gold. But once I achieve it, that also becomes something to be taken granted for.
Well, that's where I always start with a gratitude journal.
Mm.
Always with a gratitude journal. That we have to, like you say, have to learn how to be grateful for where we are and what we have.
So true, so true. So you were talking about, like, when we are a spouse, we try to be a perfect spouse. When we become a mother, we try to be a perfect mother, going out of the way to do that. And many a times what happens, a parent, especially a mother, she equates her self-worth with that of her child. And the grief, of losing that child is really can be very detrimental. You have been through that grief a few years back, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And so it must have been, really heart-wrenching for you. So how did you heal yourself? How did you come to terms with and that to the unnatural passing of your daughter? How did you awaken your self-worth?
Well, I was really, it was 2 years, December 3rd, that she passed away. She was only 29. She was my little late life arrival. She was wild and crazy as a toddler and wild and crazy as an adult. And I went to bed for a month after she passed, and I have got such an amazing, strong circle of friends that would just phone and breathe with me, or that would just phone and let me cry. Didn't say a word. They would just phone and let me cry. And I've come to the realization that you never lose the grief, but it takes on different forms. And for me to move on, I had to learn to forgive. I had to forgive the person that did this to her. Not because he needed forgiveness, but because I needed forgiveness. I needed to get past the anger, the betrayal, the all of those negative feelings, because negative feelings aren't a normal part of my life for the most part. So I had these feelings that were like, whoa, I've never, you know, remembered feeling such hate and anger for somebody. And I had to come to terms with forgiveness. It was the biggest forgiveness lesson that I will probably ever have to face in my life. And it wasn't easy. This was not an easy road. It took months to be able to truly say, with the help of God and with the help of my friends and people in my life, that I could forgive. And the difference I felt, the grief didn't go, but it wasn't heavy and oppressing grief anymore like it was at first. And I learned to remember all of the good times. Right, I'm looking at, when I sit at my desk, I have a wall that's got stuff all over it. And there's a picture of my girl there. And I can look at her and smile now and go, oh yeah, I remember when we did this. And I'm learning to not live in the past, but remember it fondly. And yes, there's still many times there's tears that are cried. But I've accepted it happened. I don't know why it happened. I don't know what the great plan is, but I had to learn what I needed to learn to move on. And she was terminally ill, but taken way before her time. But she had such a zest for life. And I believe it was her terminal illness that she just grabbed life by the reins and ran as fast as she could. And she never knew quite how the outcomes might be, but she had no fear. She lived life truly in the moment. So I had to, but to honor her and her short life, I have really made a determination for my life and those I can counsel with and teach that how important this is. And that's how I honor Ellie, by just living the best life I can live, doing what I've always wanted to do, going back to school to get my degree, doing these things that I put off. Well, maybe next year, maybe next year. Well, I learned next year doesn't come. So I did it. I'm doing it. And I guess that's my message. Don't put off, because you never know when you won't have the chance. Go back to school, learn learn something new, learn to play a sport, walk, take yoga. Don't put off these passions that you have. Act on them, do them, make them real in your life right now.
Such a poignant, words that I heard from you. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of strength to, gracefully move beyond such worst days of our lives. It's not easy, but not only, moving beyond it, but turning it into something positive. As you said, learning to forgive. First of all, I understand was the catharsis, like when you went out, everything that is going on deep inside, let that grief
Yeah.
spill out. It's very important.
Well, we live in a society where we're not supposed to feel bad. We're not supposed to feel, you feel bad, take a pill. You have pain, take a pill. And that just masks it. And I just had to get to that raw grief without the aid of chemicals, so to speak, to work through it. And that's so important, that the feeling of grief or sadness is just as real as the feeling of joy. Why have we raised a whole generation that we can't feel sad, or a whole world of people that can't feel sad?
Absolutely. It's just an emotion, and emotions need to be felt. They need to be acknowledged. We can't live in the denial mode. If we are denying
Exactly.
and don't accept, somewhere we are, rooting some illnesses or something that is going to be the trigger for something else in our lives.
Exactly.
So forgiveness, I would say, is not the attribute of the weak, it's the attribute of the strong. And I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to have a very, very strong woman sitting right in front of me, and, giving us such wise words, such life lessons. And you just said that you went back to school. It is, such a wonderful thing to do at an older age, I would
I
say.
am in my second year. I'm getting my bachelor's in human marriage and family relations.
Mm-hmm.
I will be 75 when I graduate. 75 years old when I graduate. This old brain just isn't used to this university, let me tell you. But I'm in my second year and I'm just doing it.
Fantastic. Even I went back to school a few years back, and did some research work. So I can really, know where you're coming from. It's such a beautiful feeling to go back to school again.
I'm loving it. Even days that I just want to slap my laptop down and walk away and say, I can't do this. It's like, no, Judy, you can do it. This is your second year now. You made it through the first year. You can make it through the second year, And every semester I learn something more. I gather more skills. This wasn't as great an end to my semester as I wanted, but next semester I'll do better because I learned more from this semester. And I'm just so excited, and I'm so laser focused on what I want to do in the end. So laser focused that is what it's like. No, this is what is going to happen when you're done. And that really keeps me so motivated.
I can completely agree. We are more focused when we become an adult student than what we are while we are really in school and at young age.
Exactly. Exactly.
So we are what we believe we are. What would be the last message that you would like to give to our audience?
Don't ever give up on your dreams. It might take you a few years to fulfill those dreams,
Mhm.
but there's always little things you can do along the way, steps you can take to the ultimate fulfillment of your dreams. And always, always, always be grateful for where you are right now, this very exact moment. Be grateful for what you have. Might not be what you think you want, but that's what you have right now. So be grateful for it.
So beautiful. I like to just, sum up a few things that you said for my own self as, a remembrance. So I keep these valuable lessons with me. Imperfection is beautiful. We have to let go of the obsession with being perfect. Our self-talk is most important. Gratitude,
Yeah,
journaling, and anchoring our faith in some higher power that we believe in keeps our journey streamless, and it helps us navigate through the difficult challenges in our life. And we need to remember that we are valuable regardless of what my income, the vacation that I have taken, what my relationship status is, the number of friends that I might have, what my religious, political, or other orientations might be, whatever might be the size of my waistline. I am worth it. I am I am worthy of love and belongingness.
you are, and we all are.
Absolutely. So, thank you very much, Judy, for being a part of this Anon Talks. It has been, such a wonderful life lessons because generally they say we learn our life lessons the hard way, but it's also good, important to learn some lessons from the experiences of others.
It's true, it is. And we teach best what we need to learn most.
Absolutely. As I can also see, like, you were already in the awakening our self-worth for last 20 years. Probably this was the purpose that you had to, because you needed to awaken your own self-worth at this, dark hour of your life. So
Exactly.
God has given us some purposes. We need to value those. The dots will be connected sometimes in our lives. And once again, I thank you for sharing such important life lessons, such wisdom. And it has been a pleasure talking to you.
Well, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to be able to share a bit of what I know, and hopefully it will touch the heart of somebody out there that needs to hear it now.
Absolutely. I really hope our viewers have a lot to take away from our conversation today. I surely have taken some very, very important life lessons. And once again, thank you for joining us. And for our viewers, we would be back with you with yet another engaging conversation very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.